Welcome to the Veganuary podcast, the podcast that helps you to try a vegan diet. It's stuffed full of hints and tips for anyone who wants to eat more plants.
All of Veganuary's resources are free, and this podcast is free from ads too. But Veganuary is a charity, so if you like what we do, we would love to have your support. You can consider making a donation at veganuary.com/donate. So Stu, I would love to hear about your most or least vegan thing that's happened this week. First, I have a very short one for you, because it's not a very good story. It's just the most millennial tragedy that's ever happened. Yesterday, I was having a snack, and I dropped an AirPod in my hummus.
Is the AirPod still working?
It is, yeah. It was a small tragedy, just like a very pathetic plop sound in the middle of my podcast.
But now all you can listen to is Moby or something.
Exactly. What about you?
A few episodes ago, I talked about my love of an air fryer. I decided to try doing seitan in the air fryer. And I don't know if it was a disaster. I think I invented... in the US, do you have something called pork scratchings?
Is it like a crunchy snack?
Yeah,
I think we call it cracklin here.
Yeah. I think I invented vegan pork scratchings. It was wrong. It wasn't like seitan, but it kind of was right too. It was kind of like quite nice. So I'm thinking about seeing if I can market it.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to contact, the supermarkets here, see, or maybe I'll go on Dragon's Den and speak to Deborah Meaden again.
All right, investors in Stuart's vegan pork scratchlings, you can email us at podcast@veganuary.com to learn more.
Excellent. Wendy, one thing we haven't discussed this series is some rather exciting news about you. You since the last series, have become Veganuary's CEO. So technically, you're my boss now, which I feel very daunted every time I come into the studio.
I'm pretty intimidating.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your new role and just the future of Veganuary, maybe?
I'd love to. So yes, I was incredibly honored to step into the role of CEO in March after about 6 years with the organization. And 6 years in, more than ever, I believe so wholeheartedly in the transformative potential of this campaign to change the world and to save animal lives. I think that Veganuary has such a unique role in the space by being the welcoming, friendly, non-judgmental introduction to vegan that the world needs right now. And also, I think we have the opportunity to become an even more powerful and even more fearless voice in the global cultural conversation. So I'm spending a lot of time right now thinking about the next chapter, where we need to pivot from here to keep the momentum up that we've built over the last decade or so. And a couple big things that are on my mind now. One is I think we've done an incredible job recruiting the masses, right? So we had over 25 million people last year trying vegan during January alone. And I think there's a lot more work to be done at the community level. So there's a lot of research showing that people are much more likely to sustain diet change if they're surrounded by support at the peer level. And I think it's our responsibility to find ways to better support and facilitate on the ground, smaller group interaction. So still creating the big buzz and the massive numbers, but also finding these opportunities for more direct connection. And I think in this increasingly disconnected world where information is coming through AI and people don't know what to trust, the more we can have face-to-face and human interaction, the better. So I think we can really work with our past participants and support them to support other people. And I hope you'll all join us in this goal. And then I also think on the corporate engagement side, we've really seen the needle move with more product launches, more menu launches. But I think that we could do more to move Veganuary outside of January. And I think we could build an even stronger year-round presence. And what this looks like to me is more institutional change work, engaging companies in longer-term plant-based commitments, and just finding ways to take all of this energy and all of this convincing we've done in January and turn that into a very long-term shift in the marketplace. So lots more to do and lots more to think about, but I will just say as we look to the future, I'm extremely optimistic. I think the current challenges to the plant-based sector are real, but so is the strength of this mission. So is our team.
I love it. It feels like a really exciting time. And I think what you were just saying about corporate and businesses is a great lead into our interview with Indy, because that really is her area of expertise. So let's go ahead and listen to our interview with Indy. Indy Kaur is industry movement builder at Plant Futures, a pioneering UK-based agency supporting plant-based businesses and investors. With over 18 years of experience in the food industry, including roles at Nestle, Lidl, and as Tesco's plant-based strategy executive, she's established herself as a leading voice in sustainable food systems. Indy's expertise spans product development, market trends, and sustainable food system transformation. Hi, Indy. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Stuart. Hey, Wendy.
We're going to get straight into it and ask you, what is your dream plant-based meal?
Oh, I had a good think about this. So I love a Sunday roast. I know, a Sunday roast has to be the one for me, a veggie style. And it's great to see in the UK, we've got everywhere I go, local pubs in the countryside. There's always a Sunday roast with a veggie option, which is great. So yes, that's going to be my favourite.
Do you have a go-to centerpiece of your Sunday roast?
There's just like so much variety now. So yeah, pies, love pies, sweet potato pie with a crumbly pastry. You're getting some of the meat alternatives on the menu as well now, which is really great to see. And the chunky side veg. So yeah, I'm excited to see what else we can do with Sunday roast within this category actually. So I think there's an opportunity to showcase some more of the products that we've got within the category.
So for our US listeners, tell us, what is a Sunday roast? What is typically on the plate when you order your Sunday roast?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a real British thing. I hadn't realized. So what we have is, so you'll have your meat centerpiece, and that can be beef, it can be lamb, or sometimes pork, and then you'll have Yorkshire puddings, roast veg, gravy, maybe some mac and cheese, sometimes cauliflower cheese on the side. And then plant-based version will be basically switching out the meat centerpiece for a plant-based meaty centerpiece, and still waiting for more development in the Yorkshire pudding front. So yeah, I've not seen many menus with a vegan Yorkshire pudding yet, so hopefully something will come through soon. So that's the only one miss.
You tried to make a Yorkshire pudding once, didn't you, Wendy?
I did. It was an absolute disaster. Yeah, never again.
I haven't tried to make a vegan one, so you're brave. Yeah.
All I remember is they were very oily and something was not right about them. So Indy, tell us a little bit about your journey with eating vegan. How did you grow up eating? And then how was the transition for you? And did you find it challenging?
So I grew up a vegetarian, and my mom has been a lifelong vegetarian. So we always had, we were raised on a typical whole foods veg-led diet, I guess you'd say. And it was a real fusion of cultures. So it was Indian, African, and British food culture all coming together. And I have been lucky that my mom and my aunties are just very creative and experimental within the kitchen. So there'd always be something new being cooked up. So I think from a really, really young age, I got into food quite quickly and quite hands-on with it all as well. So, it'd be lentils, it'd be legumes, it'd be, summer veg, UK summer veg, produce, all of that. Yeah. So we got into it really, really quickly from quite a young age. And then eventually I transitioned towards a more, plant-based vegan diet. And a lot of that came through my job at Tesco, actually, it was just the exposure to all the innovation that was coming out. I couldn't believe it. And I realized actually there's loads of really great products here. We don't really need to be eating as many animal-based foods. So yeah, I just kind of took on a plant-based diet.
I guess some of those cuisines you mentioned, African, Indian, they are more veg focused, aren't they? Would you say than
Yeah.
a more Western diet?
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, they really are. And it's just the variety. The difference is that you really have to know how to cook.
Mm.
And I think what we have in the UK is there's like you can see it generation on generation. Like I feel like we're forgetting how to cook. And even between my mum and me, 30-year age difference, like I'm nowhere near the cook that she is. And I'm sitting, I know I could be sitting in the kitchen with her learning some of these recipes, but I'm not. I'm like, but you're just seeing this like almost like generational loss of cooking, which is really sad. So yeah, so there was like yeah, we had a huge variety of dishes, but there is there is a big difference between kind of more Eastern cooking styles and culture and Western. You could probably see that even when you're just going traveling around the globe, you can probably see the differences.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think that's can be a big barrier to people who want to try a plant-based diet because I think if you are someone that's like well versed in the kitchen and you're it's sort of creatively minded when you're cooking, it can be a lot easier to just adopt a plant-based diet and just switch things over. Whereas if you're not quite as um what's the word I'm looking for? You don't know quite as much about cooking. It can be much more of a challenge, I think, to do those switches. Um, you mentioned about Tesco, which brings us on to one of our next questions really nicely. So you worked on Tesco's plant-based strategy at a time when plant-based food options were really exploding. What change did you see, and how did it shape your understanding of consumer behavior around plant-based foods?
I think the one thing that really stood out for me, and I still kind of like hold quite dearly, is just like the phenomenal effort that went into and still goes into all the innovation and all of the product development in the market. And there was this seismic shift, like that 2018 to 2019 period, this surge of innovation and NPD like hitting UK retail. I've never really seen anything like it before. It was incredible. And it was this like collaborative approach, like on mass scale. Like within Tesco, we had pretty much every single food category engaged, developing the plant-based, like a plant-based product or a plant-based range, and the speed at which you could go from idea through to launch, and all of the suppliers that were involved in the whole process. It just goes to show like what the food industry can do when they really back something, and yeah, I mean, I mean that I think is a quite a is a bit of a we need a trophy. Everyone in plant-based needs a trophy for all of that because I think we need to really sit back and celebrate the success because it's a big shift from pre 2018. You wouldn't see vegan on the menu like you do now, and you wouldn't be seeing all the options and offers that you have in retail now. Yeah, so.
So, what took you from this moment of being at Tesco and seeing all this plant-based innovation happening to deciding to move from your traditional food industry role into focusing more on plant-based innovation yourself?
I think growing up the way that I grew up, and I could see how possible it is to have a really nutritious diet in a really affordable way with plants, and then that alongside understanding that where as a society we are when it comes to health, the health crisis, obesity crisis, the fiber deficiencies, malnutrition. And I was like, so like plants can solve a big part of these problems and also provide food security, but not just food security at a national level, but food security at a local level, like buying produce from your local farmer and being able to cook it. I mean that's another sense of you've got other ways of buying food, accessing food, and making and preparing dishes. So for me, it was just like this aha moment when I was sitting in Tesco and seeing all the plant-based products being developed. I was like, we've got a solution to some of the big problems we face in society, and within the health crisis as well here. But the issue was consumer adoption, and it's really, really difficult to get onto the weekly shopping list. It's really difficult to shift habits and behavior around food and educating people around food. Like there was like we've got a solution on the table. The next part was that, well, how do we translate that solution into actually something that we can implement and people will act upon it?
Great. So what are the biggest opportunities for the growth of the plant-based food sector, do you think?
I think opportunity-wise, we're seeing a huge headroom for growth. So we've done a new segmentation piece in the UK, and we've also done the same study in Germany, and it was in partnership with Good Food Institute Europe and Harris X. It's a really comprehensive study, and what we found is that there's this, there's almost like 60 to 70% of the UK population that really want to try more plant-based foods and try more plant-based meals and dishes. Like, we've got this huge headroom for growth, but then there's this big conflict. There's this culture, food culture in the UK that has shaped generations to say that lots of meat and lots of dairy is nutritionally necessary. So there's this for people that are open to trying new food, like more plant-rich foods, there is this like conflict of, but hang on a minute, I've been told that lots of meat and lots of dairy is necessary, so how does this all work then? And there's this real nervousness about nutritional adequacy. Am I going to have enough protein? Am I going to feel full? Am I going to like it? Are my family or my friends going to like, So we've got all of these issues that are holding people back from just giving it a go.
Yeah, it's like a big educational piece, isn't it? I think understanding that you can get all your nutrition from plants is like such a difficult one to overcome. And there's so much misinformation now out there, especially online.
Yeah, there really is. That's a big, big challenge. And I think sometimes misinformation is invoking some like a deeper level of psyche, really. I think the ultra processed narrative has hit the category incredibly hard. And it's been quite sad to watch, really, because what we're seeing is, what I think it might be invoking the fact that there's a lack of trust with some of the innovation that's being developed. And I think it's probably also highlighting we've got a real opportunity to do more storytelling. And so education can be quite literal, like you're in a classroom, you're teaching me about ultra processed foods, or it can be more emotive and actually you're just telling me about why this is really great tasting food and why should I try it. And what we have right now in plant-based is that we've got high protein products which are also high in fiber, so you're able to get both. Like in one product, protein, fiber, it's great, it's good for your guts, it's good for so many things. And so we've got these, but there's a real opportunity to do more storytelling, do some more engaging storytelling. I also use the example of good bacteria, bad bacteria. That this has been going around for probably 20 years now. I think when Yakult, maybe it did come from Yakult, I'm not sure, but they just made it so simple. It's good bacteria. It's like, oh, okay, so you've got good bacteria and you've got bad bacteria. Okay, I get that. This is good bacteria. I'm going to have that. So we've got a real opportunity to make it so easy and just really understandable. I'd say there's an opportunity there for storytelling, which is where it gets fun and creative.
Yeah, what are some of the ways that you see the plant-based industry pushing back against this narrative? And are there any brands or companies or organizations that you see doing this really well right now?
I think businesses are kind of being pigeonholed and they're having to take a bit more of a reactive approach. Like they're having to kind of like defend their position on ultra processed, both from a consumer but and also press. So it feels as if it's more firefighting at the minute. Which is what's needed. And there's an opportunity as well to do a bit more of a coordinated comms piece where actually as a sector we can come to a conclusion of what is the narrative back on ultra processed food, and then we're sharing the same narrative back across media and across industry. Eventually kind of it'll stick. So at the moment it's quite individual. Everyone's having to try and kind of tackle issues themselves. There's an opportunity for us to really come together and actually tackle it together. And then on the other side, it's actually the proactive piece. So what's the proactive new news that we can be putting out there? And what is it that consumers need to be heard of? You could also argue that ultra processed, great, it's brought some new limelight onto the plant-based sector. If we've got all of this media attention on the plant-based category, how can we flip that? How can we flip that? Hey, yeah, okay, let's use that as an advantage and let's start talking about some of the positives around plant-based. So just spitting out ideas, but I think we can, if we work a bit more smartly and tactfully as a category, we might be able to leverage some of these things as also an opportunity to really communicate the benefits of plant-based.
What about some of the biggest misconceptions around plant-based food? So you've kind of touched on UPFs and like the kind of bad rep they're getting. What about things like price? Are there other misconceptions that you see around the sector?
Yeah, I mean, so nutrition price comes up a lot, and there's more to do with price, because I think price links to value, and if you see something as being valuable, you'll pay for it. Bottled water versus filling up your own bottle, like people, you'll pay for it because you see the value in bottled water when you need it. And the same with Oatly and oat milk. So there's people are seeing the value in that. I'm not sure where, like, it'd be great to understand, like, why they are willing to pay 2 or 3 times more than dairy milk, and why people are willing to pay the extra 30 to 50p for an oat milk latte, for example, versus a dairy milk latte. So I think price probably just needs to be, we just need to be a little bit subjective and think about it as value. And for some reason within the plant protein space, the value the protein is bringing isn't being translated. And so we're getting into this price issue where, it's been dropping prices, whereas actually maybe we need to think about value, and are we conveying value? Because actually what you've got, for example, protein, fiber in one product, that's a high value product. So I still kind of put a bit of a pin on price and just a bit of air of caution of maybe let's start shifting from price to conversation around value. And then another misconception is really about nutritional adequacy. Like, there's this real nervousness that I'm going to be nutritionally deficient, or I'm going to be, is a plant-based diet or plant-based food nutritionally beneficial, equivalent, etc. So there's this real nutritional element, which is counterintuitive because plants have so much nutrition within them, but again, it's not translating over. So yeah, I'd probably say they're two of the misconceptions at the moment.
So I suspect that some of these are what you're currently focused on with the Plant Futures Collective. So we'd just love to hear more about that project generally. Tell us about it and what you're focused on at the moment.
Yeah, so in 2024, we achieved something that was pretty radical, I would say. I genuinely had no idea how it was going to go. Will the industry come together as a united front to discuss some of the biggest issues that we have within the plant-based category? And it was like an overwhelming yes. Like, so many people and businesses and organizations wanted to come along and be part of one of our workshops and really make a genuine contribution to the discussion. And we learned a lot. Like, what has been helpful to hear is like the consistency of the challenges across the category and consistency among what the focus areas need to be. And then it's more a case of building an implementation plan. So 2025 has been a bit more around research. Okay, let's look into behavior change research and understand what is holding adoption of plant-based foods back or plant-based diets back. And then 2026, hopefully we'll start now just really kind of elevating some of the groundwork that we've been doing over the previous years. a big part of everything that we're doing is around galvanizing the entrepreneurial spirit of the category and everyone that works in it. It is phenomenal. And I talk about it a lot because like we've got a category where you have a huge amount of innovation, really engaged like workforce. I guess everyone that's working within this category are driven, motivated, strong will to collaborate, and so we've got the makings of a really solid food sector. It just needs some space to breathe and network and collaborate, and I think Plant Future is able to provide a bit of that platform for businesses to really connect and build some of the plans for us to unlock a lot of the headroom for growth that we have.
And what do you think is driving that like motivation within the sector and that dedication? Is it just pure business, or do you feel a sense that people believe that this is something that we need to do for the planet? Do you feel that kind of moral driver within the sector?
It's this whole intersection between purpose and passion, and I think more people are going to want to have careers and jobs within a category where you can see purpose and passion come together. So plant-based is able to offer roles which are you're driving change, whether it's you're motivated by animal welfare, health, sustainability, food security, any one of those four things. If you're part of that plant-based space, you're actively contributing towards hopefully better outcomes for people in general, people and or animals. And I think it is that I think more people just want to have careers that have a sense of like meaning, and you're able to achieve something that makes you feel good, but you can actually have a life as well. So yeah, that's what I see in the plant-based category. I've worked in a few different food categories, and I feel that this is quite special within plant-based, and I think it's for that reason. It's for that greater good whilst being able to live sustainably.
That sounds really exciting. So are there innovations happening within the plant-based sector that you're really excited about? Are there things coming over the horizon?
I'm really excited about what's going on in the cheese category, dairy-free cheese category. There's just loads of new taste flavors coming through, and I do wonder whether we're just creating new food categories here sometimes, like fermented cheeses, fermented nut-based cheeses, cashew-based butters. I mean, they're incredible. It might not be that you're looking for a switch. It might just be they taste great, and a bit like the dairy oat milk space, where you might get a household who buys dairy milk, they'll buy oat milk, and they're going to be buying almond milk. You've got 3 different types of milks in your fridge. We might actually end up getting to a future where someone's still buying cheese, but they just really like the taste of some of the nut-based cheeses. So we're just increasing that repertoire as well. So I'm really excited about what's happening in the dairy alt space, dairy-free space. I think chocolate confectionery is incredible, and desserts as well. If you know Goo, it's branded Free From, but their coconut-based desserts are incredible. You have a completely different mouthfeel and experience. So dairy can be quite fatty, quite heavy. Dairy free, so if you're using coconut oil based or oat based or another plant based, you've got a cleaner mouthfeel, a lighter mouthfeel. It feels lighter. Indian chai made with oat milk tastes way better than dairy milk. My whole family back that now, which is great because it's just less heavy. You don't feel, after you've had a whole Indian meal and you have some Indian tea, it's actually quite heavy, but an oat-based one tastes great, and you don't feel really sluggish afterwards. So yeah, I think what we'll probably get to, I hope, is actually some products just taste better than the animal-based equivalents.
So what else do you think is next for the plant-based sector? How do you see the food system transforming in the long term, maybe over the next decade or so?
Oh, over the next decade, I think we're still going to have a rocky few years still. And I think what happens with markets as they start to consolidate is that, yeah, it's going to still feel a little bit rocky for a little while. But on the flip side, you do build a stronger will to want to come together. And that's going to be helpful in the longer run because we're able to build collective action, which going back a few years ago, I don't think it would have been possible. And then once we get past the next probably maybe 2 to 3 years, if I was going to do any forecasting, we should start seeing a re-engagement of consumers coming back into the category. I'm hoping over the next few years we'll get to a like key messages that we're all talking about the same thing. I think within the industry, we've just got a few things we need to net out. What is the category called? Plant-based, plant-rich, free from, meat-free. You know, what is it called? Are all of the retailers able to call it the same thing? So at the moment, you know, you go into a retail store and you'll have, you know, steak, 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 steak. Okay, it's the same word everywhere. But at the minute, you'll go into UK retailers, one will be meat-free, one will be plant-based, one will be something different. And so from a shopper perspective, it's quite confusing because you're not getting consistency of category naming. So I'm hoping over the next few years that we'll just have some of that foundational stuff that's really important from a consumer perspective, consistency of just naming the overall category and the subcategories, and then so that's the language piece, and consistency over kind of what the category stands for. Do we stand for health? You know, what is it that the category is really standing for in order to reach the millions of people that are interested in trying more plant-based foods? I think once we start to achieve some of those things, then we'll see a bit more of that consumer adoption coming back.
That's great. Yeah. So you mentioned right at the top of the interview that like 2018, 2019, we saw this real like burst of interest in plant-based. And now you've said we're kind of in more of a rocky period. Could you just explain that timeline and how you think we went from there to where we are now? I think that context would be really interesting.
Yeah, sure. I also say it's important to realize that we're in an early stage market, and the food industry is like, it's a long-term game, and it's based on high volume. To be successful in the food industry, you have to shift volume. And to shift volume means that lots of people need to be buying your product frequently. And so back in 2018, there was this real gap in the market. The very limited supply of vegan food. And it was, and there was this a plant-based trend kind of emerging. So with all of these unmet needs, it was quite easy to fill the gaps. But there was also modeling around, well, if we then try and we know meat consumption is probably too high for it to be sustainable. So if we take a certain percentage of the meat market or the dairy market, there's going to be a huge size of prize, which yes, there really, really is. But I think there was like an underestimation of how difficult it is to shift consumer behavior. Most food purchases are habitual. So we had this scenario where we've got some unmet needs for vegan food. Okay, we've got great innovation that's coming through. Let's launch that. And then there's like probably, and then it came like, I think because the UK food sector is able to innovate and launch very, very rapidly, especially through own label ranges, it was probably running too fast before you can walk. So it was a heavy NPD strategy was what it was versus a sales and marketing strategy. The first few years have been focused on an NPD strategy fueled by gaps in the market and fueled by innovation just being ready to launch, which is brilliant. The rocky part now is okay, how do we get people to buy it? And if they're not going to buy the products, retailers have to react to demand. So it's not that they necessarily want to be reducing ranges, but a supermarket is designed to serve demand and optimize that service. So if the demand isn't there, a retailer needs to switch out what's not selling and put in what is selling. And so yeah, but as soon as demand comes back, retailers will switch it back around and ranges will expand and new products will be launched again.
Interesting. It's something I've heard you talk about before that I wanted to ask you about is the concept of open omnivores. I know you think that that's quite important to the market. Could you explain that concept to us?
Sure, yeah. And another way to think about it is just future flexitarians. And so these are open omnivores are the group that we've kind of identified as being the ones that are interested to try plant-based foods or plant-based diets, but they're just not doing it yet, and they're just a bit stuck because they have a belief between lots of meat and dairy being nutritionally necessary and actually too much meat and dairy might be harmful for my health. So they're just genuinely just stuck between those two belief systems. And so we've termed that group open omnivores. So and then you've got the other group, which are kind of vegans, flexitarians, pescatarians, vegetarians, and then another group which is your closed omnivore, just not interested. We don't want to change our diets. But there is that group who are open and interested that we have an opportunity to access. But it's difficult to get around a belief system, especially when it comes to food, because food is so ingrained in your culture and society. It's quite difficult to change that belief system. So a lot of the approach has been the power of one, like, you know, let's educate one person, when actually your social circle, your friends and family are actually shaping what you eat more than you realize. Not you personally, but just like in general, like the wider you. And we can see, you know, I think it was in the UK around only 20% of people have friends and family that are also plant-based, or they're around plant-based, other people on plant-based diets. So whereas it's more like over 80% when it comes to animal-based. So we've got this big gap of just social circles and social clusters influencing diets. And so although it's important to have an innovation strategy, an NPD strategy to get to consumers, develop products that they want to buy, we also need to think about that sort of like social dynamic, because it's hugely influencing what people buy, what food people buy and what food people eat. The newer research now has broken down that open omnivore group into some other buckets, which is really interesting. And then there's probably a school of thought that if you want to reduce your meat consumption, you're going to automatically want to increase your plant-based consumption. But actually, there's a lot more nuances to that. There's a group of people who want to not change the animal-based consumption, but they do want to increase plants. You've got a group that want to increase plants and reduce meat, and there are a group of people that want to increase meat and increase plants. So you've got there are more nuances, which is helpful because this open omnivore group, I mean, it's millions and millions of people. We need to start segmenting them down into kind of a few more of the nuances within that.
So we always like to end the podcast interviews by talking about our favorite thing, which is food. So tell us, what's your favorite place to get a meal out?
Oh, at the moment, I'm spending a lot of time in the countryside, and I just find it very therapeutic to be with nature. So I'm exploring a lot of the farmer markets and like more the local scene, and so I'm just loving what I'm seeing everywhere that I go. So every single farm shop, where you have like these farmer cafes as well, everyone's got vegan food on the menu, and it's not the first place that you'd go and think about. But sometimes I have more of a challenge in cities finding vegan food, like in Leeds. It's not that easy to find like vegan food sometimes, but going into like local farmer communities, like you're getting veggie and vegan breakfasts on the menu or lunches. So it's been I'm really enjoying just kind of getting into that scene actually at the moment.
There's something incredibly satisfying about when you go to a place like that and they do have like a vegan cake. Like it's then irresistible. Like you feel like you have to, you really want to indulge it because you think, well, if I buy it, they'll keep making it.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what it is. Yeah, and it's brilliant. It's surprisingly delightful. Is probably what I'd say. Yeah.
100%. And what about like a food vice? Do you have like a guilty pleasure in food, something like a naughty treat that you can't resist?
Oh God, yeah, it's all the desserts, isn't it? It's all
The
the
goose.
desserts, yeah. It's and there's so many. Yeah, chocolate, like Rhythm 108 is brilliant. It tastes so like Mummy Meegz, incredible. The Chucky egg, incredible. It's all the naughty stuff, chocolate and sweets. Yeah. I genuinely think they taste better than the dairy equivalents, which is I know that the taste has been one of the things within this category, but there's some phenomenal products within it. And I think chocolate and confectionery and desserts is probably one of them.
Indy, where should our audience go if they want to learn more about you, your work, and Plant Futures?
Oh, so they can contact me directly. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and also our website. So it's plant-futures.com. And yeah, they'll get more, you can get more information on there. A lot about the work that we're doing, the insights we're launching, how to get involved in some of the collective projects that we've got. Meat Free Made Easy is one of them. It's been hugely successful in launching a like what's the equivalent of a checkoff campaign, I guess, like having over 40 brands involved getting behind one message. So yeah, if you're interested in getting, if anybody listening is interested in getting involved in some of the collective initiatives, yeah, do reach out through one of those channels.
That sounds awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today on the Veganuary podcast, Indy. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Wendy.
All right, Wendy. I really enjoyed speaking to Indy a few weeks ago. I'm going to ask you just a random food question just to get a little anecdote out of you now. I'd love to know, what is your go-to comfort food?
Oh, I wish I had a cool and elegant answer to give you, Stu, but I'm just going to give you the truth. It's vegan chicken nuggets.
Nice.
I love a vegan chicken nugget if I'm sick, if I'm really overtired and I just want something quick and easy, like a frozen vegan chicken nugget or chicken tender with a really good dipping sauce. That is like ultimate comfort food to me.
They are really good. So my little boy eats them. And
they are children's food.
They are
yes.
children's food. And I sort of sit there looking very enviously at his plate. And sometimes he won't eat them all, and I'll get to eat some of them. Do you know, I love noodles. If ever I'm just feeling like I need, like, if I'm feeling a bit poorly, or, you know, back in my younger days when I might have partied too hard, you know, things like that, I would just love a nice bowl of noodles. And I love buying pot noodles, I guess what you would call ramen noodles over there. Yeah, I just find them so like nourishing and comforting, just like really great.
Same, actually. Trader Joe's makes these. I know you don't have Trader Joe's there, even though you're all carrying the bags around London now is the trend I'm hearing. But
really?
Yeah, our team was saying that that's a thing, is having a Trader Joe's bag on you, and London is like very posh right now. But they have these hand-cut noodles, and I do those with like some tahini and some chili crisp, almost like I don't know, a lazy dan noodle. But yeah, I love a good noodle. Delicious.
Excellent. Right. So if people want to contact us, how can they go about doing that, Wendy?
You can shoot us an email anytime at podcast@veganuary.com. We love to hear from our listeners. And of course, if you just want to follow along and see what we're up to, you can follow us at We Are Veganuary on Instagram and Veganuary on all of their social channels.
And it's not too late for people to take part in Veganuary, is it?
It's never too late. You can sign up anytime throughout the year and get all 31 of our coaching emails. And all we need from you is your name and your country and your email address. And you can find the big sign up button on veganuary.com and sign up anytime.
Brilliant. Great to speak to you, Wendy. This podcast was recorded at Distorted Podcast Studios and it was produced by Jim Moore at Bloody Vegans Productions. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and rate us 5 stars. Bye for now.
Bye.
1, 2,